Well, today is Election Day, and we are breaking down some of the high-profile propositions on the ballot, including Proposition 30, 27, and 1. So joining me now is Professor and Chair of the Political Science Department at San Jose State, Garrick Percival. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's start with sports betting, Propositions 26 and 27. So what are the differences between the opposing propositions, and do they stand a chance of even passing?
Yeah, so these are both dealing with the same issue, sports gambling and legalizing it here in California. A lot of other states have legalized in the last few years. The big difference is that Proposition 26 would allow, if it passes, for sports gambling on at casinos and on horse race tracks in the state. Proposition 27, also dealing with sports gambling, is really a difference in question on modality that would allow for online sports gambling. So they're really competing initiatives. We've seen a lot of money spent on these two campaigns, over $400 million. Public opinion polls suggest, though, that both initiatives are likely to fail after today. We'll see what the results look like. But if the polls are correct, then both of these are likely not going to pass.
Got it. So Governor Newsom, though, is split with Democrats over Prop 30. It would fund programs to reduce air pollution and prevent wildfires by increasing tax on personal income over $2 million. So what's really at stake here, and what's causing the split we're seeing?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because what the initiative does really aligns well, certainly with Gavin Newsom's agenda and the Democratic Party's agenda. The Democratic Party has come out and officially endorsed this initiative, where Newsom has opposed it. Newsom, I think, is certainly concerned about the increase in taxes and in a political economy that people are really struggling, even though, of course, this initiative, if it does pass, would only raise taxes on people earning over $2 million a year. But then he's really kind of pitched this as a giveaway to sort of corporate welfare. The ride-sharing companies, including Lyft, have been the biggest proponents and backers of this initiative. Newsom's really arguing that the state is doing a lot of effort to increase EV purchases, to build up the state's infrastructure around that. It's doing it, though, through traditional means, through the legislative process, the budgetary process, and he's arguing that, combined with federal support, will get to the state to where it needs to be in a decade's time or so.
All right, we need to talk about Prop 1 before you go. It's been top of mind, especially since the overturning of Roe v. Wade. A yes vote would change the California Constitution to include existing rights to reproductive freedom, but the opposition says it's not necessary since those rights are already protected in the state. So can you break down for us what might actually change if Prop 1 passes?
Well, I think there's not going to be much that changes day to day for Californians if this passes. I mean, abortion rights have been firmly found by the state Supreme Court in the California Constitution under privacy rights. It's also in statutory laws as well. So this is, I think, really more of a symbolic politics. It's about really affirming California's values as a pro-choice state. Of course, we don't know about the looming fights in the courts, other efforts by, if the Republicans take over Congress and the presidency in the next 2 to 4 years, there could be renewed federal efforts to further restrict abortion rights. So, if this passes, it could add further protections for Californians in the future. But right now, in the immediate term, if this passes, it's not going to mark any significant difference from what we've experienced in the state thus far.
All right, a lot to consider going into the polls today. Professor Garrick Percival, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.